I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
What's up?
That was weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're live.
Yeah, we're live. We're live.
Technically, hey, ESPN must have had something to do with this. They don't want anybody watching their stuff or anybody else's stuff except for theirs, which is on right now. Welcome in to Winning Cures Everything. I'm your host, Gary Seegers. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Gary WCE. I am on Twitter at Winning Cures. The man to the right of your screen is one Matt Huey. Huey, tell him where you're from, tell him where to find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Strong and Healthy Rehab on all those. Yeah, I almost said Winning Cures Everything. I'm like, I'm not on there.
Like, that's not me. Like, no. I'm the Sunday guy. Yeah. What a wild Sunday morning, huh? I mean, the CFP is announced. We have our matchups. Number 1, Michigan against number 4, Alabama in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. And in the Sugar Bowl, Washington is the higher seeded team, and they get to take on the Texas Longhorns, who will have a decided home field advantage in New Orleans. I mean, it will be completely orange in that place. So cheers to that. I think that we got the 4 best matchups. I don't know that it's fair. I don't think they care if it's fair. And I'm totally fine with that, right? The committee and whatnot, all the people on ESPN have been spouting it for weeks at this point. It's about the 4 best teams. Really, what you should be saying is it is about the 4 teams that will give us the best TV ratings. And if we can fit the deserving teams in there, then we'll try that, right? TCU got in last year because there was a lack of options. The year before that, it's the same thing. Cincinnati got in because there was a lack of options. Like, we do this all the time. It goes back and forth. The teams that get the best TV ratings that are on the fringe are who are going to get into this thing. The Rose Bowl, Michigan against Florida State with an injured quarterback. Is that going to bring the most eyeballs? Probably not, when you could have a healthy Alabama team that just beat number 1 Georgia, who has, and here's the difference between the numbers. Florida State had 3 games this year that broke 5 million viewers, Huey. Alabama had 4 games that broke 8 million viewers. That's the difference. Like, it's, and that's all this is, because it's a TV show. And next year, it'll go to 12, and you can get more teams in. And they're not so worried about it. But right now, they still don't have the next CFP TV contract done. They need these numbers to be as big as humanly possible. And that's why they did it. I don't think there's any other explanation. You can come up with Bama's better or whatever. I don't think any of that stuff matters. What were your initial reactions when you saw this?
Well, I was talking to someone last night. I was like, they're probably going to stick Bama at 4. Well, excuse me. I was thinking they're probably going to put Georgia at 4, but then Bama will just pay off somebody and then they would get the 4 spot. Like,
oh, that's funny.
Like, but I was really saying, like, well, an undefeated Florida State team, they don't look good, but they're going to be undefeated, Power 5. Yeah. Okay. We have to give it to you. And then what is it going to be with the other 3? And it's like, well, Georgia's been number one the whole year, then looking so good, third time national, going for the third national championship. And I'm like, they'll probably knock them down to 4 and let them in. But
there was a lot of thinking on Twitter that they could keep Georgia in there and just knock out Texas and Alabama. Like that way, there's not a debate and we don't have an issue. I don't think they were ever going to do that because, again, you get into head-to-head, right? Bama beat Georgia, Texas beat Bama, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, the only one that had not played any of those teams was Florida State, right? So you can go through and say that Alabama had a better loss than Texas. You can say that Bama had a better win than Texas, which is ridiculous considering Texas beat Alabama. But when Texas beat Bama, they were number 3. When Bama beat Georgia, Georgia was number 1. Right.
Well, Texas also went to Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yes.
And beat Bama. That was the other thing. I'm like, Texas went to Tuscaloosa
100%.
and beat Bama in their home stadium.
There's a whole lot to dive into with it, right?
Yes.
Michigan beat number 3 Ohio State, right, and didn't lose. Washington beat number 5 Oregon twice. I think Oregon was number 5 both times, right? But outside of that, nobody that was up for inclusion in the field, I don't think anybody this year had beaten a team ranked number 1 at the time that they beat them. So
no, because it's been Georgia number 1 the whole time.
I think Ohio State was number 1
the first
the first CFP ranking. Aside from that, it's been Georgia. Georgia has won 29 straight games. They were 42-1 in the last 43 or 43-1, whatever it was. Obviously the win matters, right? But Florida State obviously deserved to be in. I just think it's TV. Like every year we've seen this. Like it just continues on and on. But when you have the opportunity, and these guys know that this is going to bring in some big time eyeballs, and by bringing in eyeballs, it's going to bring in a whole boatload of cash. And every single time that they have gotten to decide, do we want to stick with our integrity or do we want to go with cash? They choose the cash every time. I mean, it is without fail in this sport. So going to 12 is going to allow more teams that deserve to be in. It's going to give them the opportunity to be in. But you're still going to see some crazy stuff. I mean, you'll see like a 3-loss SEC team getting in at the end of that playoff as opposed to, a 1-loss ACC team or something like that, right? Like we're going to see this over and over. But it's, hey, at the end of the day, everybody's favorite color is green, right? Yep. It don't matter if you're a Seminole or a Crimson Tide fan or a Longhorn or whatever. All these executives, all these college administrators, etc., it's all about the Benjamins, baby. And that's what this is going to do. Michigan against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. I mean, we're talking 30+ million people watching. It's going to be stupid numbers. So I've started looking for tickets to Pasadena, by the way. my wife came in and said, you should go. I'm like, you just want me to leave. And I will look and see how much this stuff costs. So I'm excited about it. Like, I think, I mean, obviously I'm an Alabama fan, but I try and call it like I see it, right? And I know Alabama brings in a bunch of eyeballs. Here, let me share one of the screens and we'll look through some of these TV ratings. Yes, I understand that I'm sharing my screen. I know this. Thanks, software. Boom. All right. So let me put this up on the screen so you can see. This is over at Sports Media Watch, right? Week 13, Michigan, Ohio State did 19 million viewers. Alabama, Auburn did 9. Florida State did 5 million, right? If you go all the way back to week 1, somewhere in there, week 2, week 3, week da-da-da-da. And if Colorado had been available, Colorado would have gone in over Alabama. Like, if they had been there for the playoff, that would have happened. But alas, it did not. So Florida State and LSU was week 1. It did over 9 million viewers on Sunday night in a standalone spot, right? So that was Florida State's biggest viewership of the season. They did over 9 million, and it's not going to load for me, but whatever. You can see it right here. FSU's route of LSU delivered the largest audience of week 1 with more than 9 million viewers on ABC. And again, standalone spot, right? Texas, Alabama the next week did almost 9 million. You keep moving on, and week 3, you don't see Florida State anywhere. You don't see Alabama anywhere. Week 4, week 5, etc. There's no. When you start to look at who can draw the most eyeballs based on whether they win or lose, it's going to be Alabama every time because they've had such a run in the past 15, 16, however many years it's been, where if they get threatened, if they are in a tight ball game, it is going to do insane numbers, right? We saw it with when Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State. Alabama had Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and it was a super tight game, and it was the most viewers that ESPN had ever had for a college football broadcast. And it was because it was a 31-24 game. It got tight. It was almost 8 million viewers for a game on ESPN on cable because everybody tuned in wanting to see if Alabama was going to lose. There's a lot of value in that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Florida State has going through their heads right now? Like from Mike Norvell's point of view, from everything else, like it's good that you have a long time to get back off the mat, right? What are your thoughts on this from a Florida State point of view?
Oh, I know they're going to be mad about it, but I mean, but looking like the ACC wasn't like a powerhouse conference, like what Clemson was up and down. Duke had a
Clemson
little
had
run.
4 losses. Duke had what, 5 or 6?
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
And then North Carolina was way up there, but then fell off. You just didn't have like okay, this is just dominant. And
yeah,
I kind of thought last night going into the game, like Louisville, I thought Louisville was going to win because you're down to your third string quarterback. Louisville's probably going to pull this off. But I think if Florida State probably came out and just 58-0, okay, just stomped them, and then it was just like, okay, now you arguing a little bit more, but it's like you didn't look that great against Louisville. I mean, not saying Louisville's a bad team, but for you to be number 3 last night, 4.
Yeah, number 4 going into
They're 4. Yeah. To be like, you should just go in there, we're just going to beat them and just, put the third stringers in by the third quarter.
They never got that opportunity. And obviously they started their third string quarterback. So it was like, what are you going to do? But man, like there was a lot to it, right? If they had shown up and just blown out a 10-win Louisville team, that's one thing. Louisville did them no favors last week either by losing at home to Kentucky. And that's a team that, Alabama just destroyed in Lexington just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, and yes, it was weird the way that they lost, right? Like Louisville had 3 turnovers, 2 of them inside their own 40, kick return touchdown. I mean, just, weird rivalry game stuff, but it don't look good.
No.
Right. When you're trying to get in.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Iron Bowl stuff, because everybody, they just let in a team that, needed a Hail Mary, which it was not a Hail Mary. We talked about that. But needed a 4th and 31 touchdown pass against Auburn to win that game. This committee already knows about the Iron Bowl voodoo juju stuff, right? So that's not even a thing. But when it comes to whether or not you have your starting quarterback or not, that's where it gets a little iffy. And again, if Florida State had Jordan Travis, that would be must-see TV against Michigan, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So him not being there is completely unprecedented in this situation, because with Ohio State, you had, Cardale Jones, and we didn't know who Cardale Jones was really at the time, but they went out and they beat Wisconsin as an underdog 59-0 that year. They left no doubt.
No.
Last night, if Louisville didn't get intercepted in the end zone, et cetera, like all those different things that went crazy, Louisville probably wins that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, it's, do you give Florida State credit for the win, or, do you start to look at, we got other options here. Football Jesus jumped in, said the CFP committee did not have the balls to keep out the SEC. I'm guessing politics here. Oh, well, it ain't politics. It's green, baby. It's money. They want eyeballs. And look, whoever Florida State went up against, whether they've got Tate Rodemaker or Brock Glenn, they were going to be a massive underdog. And yes, we can talk about Washington being a 9.5-point underdog to Oregon and winning the game outright. We can talk about that. But Washington had all their players. Like, you want to put the best product that you can on TV if you are this group that's trying to get another TV deal, right?
And Washington was really fun to watch all year. I said,
Yes.
like, they were really fun to watch, and
Florida State the past couple of weeks is not that.
Yeah,
that ain't been a fun watch.
Yeah,
I mean, we can talk about, their defense has played out of their minds and then they certainly have. But this is comparable. Like last night was comparable to watching Iowa football, which is just, it's brutal. And no, they weren't going to start Brock Glenn in whatever game, right? Whatever bowl game it was. But Tate Rodemaker against Florida, it was 3.9 yards per play that they had on Florida, which was like the number 115 defense in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't good. You gonna try and put that up against Michigan? Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if they announced the other bowl games, because obviously, Georgia being at 6, that's one thing. Florida State at 5, that's another thing. They haven't announced the rest of the matchups. But I'm excited to see some of these other matchups. Like, I think this could be a whole lot of fun. But again, like, man, if you're Florida State, would you prefer to be like matched up against Liberty in whatever game? Like, do you want to go out in a game where you really think that you can win, or do you want to go out and play Georgia?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're going against.
Because if you go out and you beat Liberty, you're going to get the same people being like, y'all already had the 55th strength of schedule. Now you're going to beat Liberty. That's one thing. But if you go out and you beat Georgia, then it's like, yo, we about to claim this national championship like UCF did.
Yeah.
This is just wild. I was completely convinced last night that this was not happening. Like, that Alabama was not going to get in. They were going to not prove a point, but like, just, hey, sorry, should have won the game against Texas.
Yep. That's what I was really thinking. Just the way they knocked them down. Because they lost that game and went to.
They were number 8.
Yeah.
Like, all season.
Yeah.
Like, they could never get over the Texas hump, right?
Yeah.
But then after yesterday, which is crazy, Texas and Alabama both were behind Ohio State just last week.
Yes.
And they both jump over them. And I don't know. They moved Texas up 4 spots. They moved Alabama up 4 spots. How crazy that they moved Georgia all the way down to 6.
Yeah. Just who's 5?
Florida State's 5. Yeah.
Florida State. Oh, yeah. Duh.
We've been talking about this whole time.
So they were already forgot about them.
Oh, man. Oh, just absurd. It is. God, it's got to be brutal. We know some people that are real mad about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that we got 16 people watching, and it's, if you if you were Michigan, you certainly would have rather played Florida State, right?
Oh, yes.
Double O'Neill jumps in. I guess winning doesn't matter anymore. No. Winning does matter. Winning with all of your players matters, and winning in front of the most possible people on television matters. Yeah. Because winning does cure everything, but it's money.
Yeah, I was wondering that if Florida State got in there against Michigan or Georgia, like, man, they're just going to wipe the floor with it. It's going to be one of those games where it's into the first quarter. It's going to be like 35-3, and nobody's going to watch. It's going to be one of those boring playoff games.
Exactly. And they've had a whole lot of those. They've tried to do most deserving. They've tried to. But in this year, where they are coming up on a TV contract, you can't afford it. You can't afford to do most deserving. Right? They don't have that deal done.
Was it Florida versus Cincinnati? It was like when Tebow's last game was like 63-0 or something. Like
it wasn't quite that bad, but it was a beatdown.
Yeah, it was like Kelly had left, Cincinnati had done great, and this was like, well, this is just pointless to watch.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a playoff game. That was a Sugar Bowl or whatever?
Yeah, that was a Sugar Bowl. That was just...
Yeah, that's the deal, right? And that's why they've always been hesitant to put in a group of 5 team into the playoff. But we saw the same thing, right? Alabama played against Cincinnati a couple of years ago. Number 1 versus number 4, and it was boring. Alabama had not been able to run the ball on anybody all season. And they get into that game and they go for 300 yards against Cincinnati's defensive line. It's like, yeah. So they just methodically went down the field. They had Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator, and Bryce Young didn't have to throw the ball basically at all. Like, it was just play after play, like 12 play drives that just take 8 minutes off the clock. It's like the final score, I think, was 27-14 or 27-13 or whatever, but it was never in doubt. And that's what they're trying to avoid, is these games that you already know from the jump who's going to win, right?
But so you get that other thing of like UCF. Okay. When they had that great year, it's like, do we let them in and let them prove themselves? And if they get beat and they're like, yeah, see, we told you, or it's a great story, then they win. But if it's like, man, they get the floor waxed with them, it was all like, see, we told you.
That's the deal. And since it is still a 14 playoff, they can't afford to let somebody, especially again in a contract year where they're trying to figure this out. Double O'Neill jumped in. He said, SEC should have been left out. He said, so next year they will vote in 8 or 9 SEC teams. No. I mean, what? Guys get so in their feels about this stuff, man. It's a business. It's a television product.
We're just gonna put Vandy in at the 12 spot.
It depends on who they want to get into the title game, right? Like who are we going to give the easy win to? Like, good gracious. Bill L jumped in. How about those Boise State Broncos? Hey, y'all want to talk about winning doesn't matter anymore? Boise State 5 losses and end up with the Mountain West Championship. Like, had to get computers to rate them, and they go. I mean, they took care of business though. Cheers to that, and they looked fantastic. That team, man. So let's talk about that for a second, because this is a little different topic. How crazy when you fire your coach and you were still in a position to win the conference, and the team looks drastically better when you get fired. There are players that had left the team that wanted back on the team after Andy Avalos left. Like, have you ever seen a situation like that where everybody was just uplifted by the absence of the coach?
Yeah, that's you don't really hear that in college. Like, when a coach leaves, like, everyone's like, oh, thank goodness.
It's crazy.
Well, like mid-season, yeah. But
yeah, it's crazy. I've never seen that to that level. Double O'Neill said, he said they'll try to get as many. He said they'll try to put like 9 SEC teams in. And they did. Yeah, Double O'Neill said, we won the Mountain West Championship. Go Boise State. Yes, go Boise. Go Broncos.
Yeah, great.
Like, I love the Broncos. Like I thought it was awesome. I don't get me wrong. I bet on UNLV, but I just read the situation wrong. Like that's all it is. He said they need to hire Spencer. Spencer Danielson is the interim coach, and he rallied that bunch, man. He sure did. Got to toss this on here. Edward Kelly, total BS. The Florida State gets left out in the cold despite going undefeated and won a bigger margin against LSU than Alabama did. Hey.
They were wanting to fire Kelly after that first game, though.
Yeah. That's LSU was like, but to be fair, Brian Kelly had told everybody the entire offseason that he was, and the quote was, he's concerned about the defense before they played the first game. It's like, man, if you're starting 4 transfers in the secondary against Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, and especially when Jordan Travis was playing. And so, and that's the thing that Edward Kelly forgets. Florida State beat LSU with a bigger margin than Alabama did when they had Jordan Travis. It ain't the same teams anymore. Now, here's the deal. And this is what Greg Sankey talked about this, and everybody's like, oh, he's making excuses. That's when everybody thought the SEC wasn't getting a team in. But he said, hey, we could have had a 12-teamer this year. But the alliance, right? Kevin Warren and, George Kliavkoff from the Pac-12 and Jim Phillips from the ACC, they voted against it. Oh, we got to pump the brakes. We got to da-da-da-da-da. And it was all spearheaded by Kevin Warren in the Big Ten. But, man, the Pac-12 and the ACC, they should have known they were letting a fox in the hen house. Like, that's all that was. So now, Jim Phillips, he lost out on your ACC team getting in. The Pac-12 is still getting a team in, but they are completely disbanded after this year. We can blame it on the Big Ten if you want to. If you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at Kevin Warren. You can call him up in Chicago. He's in the same city, but he's the president of the Bears now. And so, which, by the way, how you Bears looking, buddy? They won last week. They won.
Yeah, they won with 4 field goals. Watching that game, like, holy crap.
Double O'Neill jumped in. FSU also with the better wins and strength of schedule. Okay. What better wins?
Yeah. Clemson?
8-4 Clemson? 9-3 LSU? Louisville? Now a 10-3 team? Come on, man. Don't be jaded. Look at this logically. Okay.
I mean, they had to pull out with Clemson at the end. I mean, the LSU win was good.
Yeah, especially early in the season. But again,
but you're prepared going into those games.
And you don't have Jordan Travis anymore.
Yeah.
Like this is not in saying better strength of schedule. Florida State's strength of schedule is number 55. Alabama's is number 5. Florida State's strength of schedule is more comparable to UCF back in 2017 when they were undefeated. Like, it's the truth. The ACC is not a quote-unquote power league right now. With Clemson being down, that win obviously took some hits, right? Because Clemson, if all Clemson had done was lose to Duke in that first game, and then they righted the ship, they lost that overtime game to Florida State, and then they won the rest of their games, absolutely. Makes perfect sense. But no, Clemson went and they lost to NC State, and then they went and they lost to Miami. You got a 4-loss Clemson team that is in the top 25. I don't know why, but the wins are not better than Alabama's, and the strength of schedule isn't better. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I am still looking to see if they have updated the New Year's 6, and I just don't see it.
Yeah,
let's talk about some of the games, right? Let's hit on those.
I do got one thing I want to bring up.
Oh, go ahead.
We're gonna do Heisman picks.
Yes, let's do Heisman picks. You go ahead and tell me yours right quick.
Okay. It's kind of hard, but I think I'm gonna go with Troy Caminetti Videlli, 26 rushes for 233 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yes.
That was
App State couldn't do anything against that kid. I mean, it was brutal, like absolutely brutal. Troy, John Summerall is awesome. I mean, he is incredible. They started out, I think, last year 1-2 or 2-2, whatever. They lost 2 games in September last year, and they lost 2 games in September this year, and they have not lost in October, November, or December. 2 straight Sun Belt titles for John Summerall, who, by God, if Mark Stoops had gotten the Texas A&M job, Kentucky would have hired him immediately because he was the co-DC at Kentucky before he went to Troy. He has done an incredible job. Caden Salter from Liberty. Boy, that Jamie Chadwell offense, I'm telling you, man, Liberty is going to win Conference USA every year for as long as he's there. It could be a decade. If he wants to stay there, and they will pay him. Like, because they're already paying him like $4.5 million, which is ACC money. Like, if you're an ACC team coming to get him, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money. But Caden Salter, he's the quarterback, by the way. 12 carries for 165 yards running the ball. 13.8 yards per carry. He had 1 touchdown. And then what did he have throwing? Let's see. I'm going to look it up right quick. 20 out of 25, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns. That offense is stupid. I mean, it's stupid. So, you got anybody else? You got any offensive linemen you want to pinpoint?
I'm not going to go with the offensive lineman this week. It was tough. It was tough watching him. But I'm going to call
Washington again. That's who you need to go with because Dylan Johnson was a freak against Oregon.
Yeah, Boy, I've already picked with those guys. So I got somebody special here.
They deserve it again.
Oh, they do. They do. They look so good. But I'm going to go Andrew Jimenez. I think that's how you say his name.
Jimenez.
Well, yeah, Jimenez. 18 of 21 for the Dr. Pepper challenge.
Yes.
With the proper throwing motion.
Yes.
On there and $100,000. And isn't it crazy about how much like Dr. Pepper is just like invested with college football? I mean, it's just all over the place now that you Dr. Pepper and college football just always going together.
Dr. Pepper needs to sponsor us. I'm telling you. Oh, that's hilarious.
I did like
Was he the one in the Alabama Georgia game, or was he?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's right. Which was it? The Big 12 one?
Yeah, Big 12.
Where there is a discrepancy.
Yes. Yes.
I've never seen that before. But it looked like they gave him 1 extra. Yeah, that led to the overtime, right?
So I was watching that, and I was watching him, and actually, when they went to the overtime, they counted down. If you watch the beginning of it, because they had something happen, and when he was making them, it went down a couple, and then they kind of caught it back up. So I think that's what happened.
Interesting. And you ain't got that long because man, they had to get Nelly on there.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, okay, we got to go back to this. But when he was making them, the number went down. So if you find it on whatever Twitter X or whatever it's called now, like I noticed, I was like, oh, that's weird. The number down. But I will say Dr. Pepper did the nice thing and just gave them both.
Yeah.
Like you're both winners. Here you go. And just that was great. I'd say that was really great of them.
Yes, indeed. Let's jump to some of these comments right quick. Let's see. Max Todd. The ACC voted against the 12-team playoff for this year. Now the ACC is crying. It's your fault. Florida State didn't in. The ACC screwed itself by being arrogant. Max, we love you. We appreciate it. Paul jumped in, and let's see. Paul Johnston, with Tulane's loss, there's going to be a group of 5 school in a New Year's Six bowl. If so, who? Liberty, SMU, Miami of Ohio, or Troy? It's either going to be Liberty or SMU. And Liberty was already in the top 25. Tulane was the highest ranked group of 5 team. So it's going to be, I'm going to guess Liberty because, SMU looked good against Tulane, but they don't have the starting quarterback. So I'd imagine they'll probably put Liberty in there, even with the number 133 strength of schedule, which it might have gone up, based on New Mexico State. That New Mexico State win over Auburn goes a long way towards helping Conference USA. I'll tell you that. And so Max jumped in. FSU's strength of record is so he's got strength of record here. It's actually strength of schedule. Florida State's strength of schedule is 55th. Bama's, it's not 4th, it's actually 5th. He said, get your facts straight. Florida State strength of record is horrible. No, Florida State's strength of record is actually number 4 and Alabama's is number 5. But strength of schedule, Alabama is way up there. Way up there. Gio's shoebox jumped in. I'm guessing going undefeated doesn't matter. Well, not when you play the number 55 strength of schedule in the country. I guess. Like, that's look. Again, somebody was going to get their feelings hurt today. It just happened to be the weakest Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
Is what it is. So, do you want to get to games?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so let's talk Bama 27, Georgia 24. And what do we make of this? What do we Alabama basically controlled this game from the get-go.
They did.
And Georgia fans are big mad about that 4th and 4 catch by Isaiah Bond that led to the touchdown before the half. What did you think about that?
So I saw they got watching that like, ooh, that. I don't know. I felt like they would have turned that over. That would have been an incompletion.
100%.
Just how like.
But that's why teams run up there and run another play.
But everybody does it. But I'll say everybody does it. It's a questionable. Get up there, run the play so you can't review it. So it's not like something unfair happened, but it's like everybody does that. Yeah.
Look, they're gonna miss some from time to time. It was still Georgia's job to keep them out of the end zone.
Yep.
Hey, right quick. Heart-sick disciple jumped in. The ACC has a winning record against the SEC this year, so you can't say they're the weakest conference. Okay. When 2 of your wins are against South Carolina and against Florida and whatever, these teams that aren't making bowl games, you got to provide a little context. You can't just say the record is what the record is, okay? So let's just do your research and come in with actual, real heart-sick disciple. FSU 2-0 versus SEC as well. The record is 13-0. Look, again, the win over LSU was when you had Jordan Travis at quarterback. I understand that you're upset. I get it. But logic has to be a part of the equation here, okay? Let's just be honest about this. Like, it is what it is. Had Florida State gotten in over Alabama, there's plenty of reasons why you could say that. But at the end of the day, it's about money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I got to say it. It's about money. It ain't about the best teams or the most deserving or any of that crap. Who's going to put the best product on the field? Right now, it's going to be Alabama against Michigan. That line is 2 right now. Michigan opened up as a 2-point favorite. Michigan would have been a more than 2 touchdown favorite against Florida State, at least this version of Florida State. That's all it is. Let's see. Heart-sick disciple. Imagine if the committee had left Ohio State out in 2014 because they were on their 3rd-string quarterback. Hey, if they had, I don't think anybody would be all that upset. But Ohio State went out and beat Wisconsin 59-0. Like, that's the difference. Let's see. Logic is winning, brother, says Gio Shoebox. Jonathan E., if your team was undefeated and left out, your tone would be the complete opposite. No. Here's the deal. I know what the situation is. And the situation is they need eyeballs because their TV contract ain't done yet. I don't know how to explain this any better.
Yeah.
Like, Matt, am I not explaining this right?
No, I'm really kind of questioning, like, is Florida State, like, if they went up against Michigan without Jordan Travis, and I mean, yeah, you do get a month to prepare, but.
And we can talk about Oregon being a 10-point dog to, Washington being a 10-point dog to Oregon. I know that. But again, Washington had all their pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Let's see. Heartsick Disciple. If it's about money and not winning, let's just call the whole thing off. It's a joke. They're not going to call it off because they got to make the money.
Yeah.
Next year it goes to 12. Yeah. So everybody will get in next year. Like, it's in a 12-team playoff, Florida State does not get left out. Like, I can't explain it any better than that. Like, this is not, they weren't disrespecting Florida State or whatever else. This is not disrespect. This is, we need the most eyeballs possible. And you can't say it any better than that. Like, I know people are so frustrated about this. We've got a 13-0 Power 5 champion that won every game, did everything they were supposed to do. It's like, okay.
And I could bring this point up. I mean, is it going to bring now more views and eyeballs to Florida State in whatever bowl that they go to now because they didn't get the playoff? So again, it's a win. Hey, we're going to put an Alabama team in that lost, and we're going to put the Florida State team in, and people are going to watch both of them now because, hey, and then it's what's it do? It starts a whole new debate. If Florida State wins and Alabama or in Texas lose or get blown out, then it's gonna be like, hey, it starts a whole debate. So I'm like, well,
they did all their. Here we go. Hold on. Let's see. Heartsick Disciple said, which means it's not about competition. It was never about competition. It's always been about money.
Yeah.
Money.
Always.
Like, give me the green. That's why they went to 4. It's about money. Like that's why these teams are moving conferences and all that. That's why Florida State wants out of the ACC. Like, that's been going on for a year.
Yeah.
Their board of regents talked about it. Like, they are trying everything they can to get out of that grant of rights. They want to go to the Big Ten or the SEC, one or the other. Like, because why? Money. You're not going to get more wins in those conferences. Like, if you want to win games, like, you just went to 13-0 by playing the number 55 strength of schedule in the country. Geo Shoebox, you really think Michigan will be a 14-point favorite with that defense? That's hilarious. Iowa's got a better defense than Florida State. They were 23-point favorites over Iowa, and they covered. Like, again, what are we talking about? John jumps in. Explain how any ACC program sells their school now to recruits. Well, next year you go to a 12-team playoff, so you're pretty much guaranteed a spot.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you sell it. Let's see. Heartsick Disciple. Half the FSU players will probably skip the bowl game. Well, if they really care about the school and they really care about going 14-0, then they won't. I mean, that's easy enough, right?
Yeah, you think they'll stick around for Travis? 13 for 13.
I mean, they got to 13 last night, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like we're going to cap off this season. We lost our teammate, and
yeah, I mean they absolutely could. Paul Johnson jumps in. ACC does have more bowl eligible teams than the SEC. Don't worry, Gary. I still think the SEC is a stronger conference. I just thought I'd state that before someone else does. Yes, and you're right. There are more bowl eligible teams, but I mean, my God, the Sun Belt has 12 bowl eligible teams because basically everybody is 6-6. Like, again, we're trying to compare apples and oranges here. Like, this is not rational thinking. If you're bringing in, well, ACC's got more bowl teams than the SEC. Like, yeah, we know. All right, hold on. Heartsick Disciple. It's not a real playoff without automatic bids. Look at every other sport. Well, next year there are automatic bids, and they could have had it this year.
Yeah, that was the whole debate a few years ago. Like, you had to win your conference title because who didn't win and got in? Was it Bama? A few years ago, who didn't?
Yeah, 2017, Bama got in without a conference title. 2016, Ohio State got in without a conference title, even though Penn State beat them head-to-head. But Penn State had 2 losses.
Yeah.
It's always, the committee changes pretty much every year, right? There's always new members. The way of thinking is different. almost every year when it comes down to this. But the one thing that ain't changed is the team that's on the fringe whenever there's a debate.
Yeah.
The team that's got the better TV ratings throughout the season. That's the one that they always pick every single time. Every time. Alabama got in 2017 without a championship, without a conference. They didn't even play for their conference championship. Ohio State was a conference championship team. They had 2 losses, but they had won the Big Ten, and Alabama got in over them. It's the way it goes.
Wasn't that the year that Auburn beat Georgia?
Yep. That was the Tua 2nd and 26 year.
Yeah.
That was Auburn beat Georgia with not the prayer at Jordan Hare, but that was they like destroyed Kirby Smart's Georgia team.
Yeah. In the SEC title, but they went to the Peach Bowl.
Yeah. Without Kerryon Johnson, their running back, and without like a bunch of other guys that had been injured and all that.
Yeah,
and then UCF
they lost. Yeah, UCF. And so it's like, yeah, the Georgia beat Alabama during the season, but Alabama beat them, but Auburn beat both of them, but lost to.
Yes. Yes. You nailed it.
It sometimes gets like in basketball when they try to like explain all the. I need to watch that movie. But it's like how they try to explain all the different conferences and the season lasts like 2 years or something.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. All right, here, hold on. Geo Shoebox. Iowa with no offense whatsoever. With Tate Rodemaker at quarterback against the number 115 or 117 or whatever it was defense in the country in Florida, Florida State had 3.9 yards per play. They put up 24 points, and the 3 touchdowns were all broken plays where Florida, who was number 110 in tackle grade at PFF, missed tackles. That's how Florida State scored points against Florida. Last night against Louisville, who Kentucky put up 38 points on, Florida State managed to put up 16 points. Florida State's offense, without Jordan Travis, at least right now, is closer to Iowa than they are to these other playoff teams. Again, I don't know how else to put it. It's Florida State's offense right now is not appealing. It won't bring in eyeballs. And if they get down, they have no real way of coming back in a game unless they're playing North Alabama, right? Which they did against North Alabama. It's just crazy. Let's see. Hold on. I would love to watch a Florida State versus Georgia game. I think you would love to watch that for about 3 drives. I think Georgia would demolish them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it would not be close. Florida's defensive line destroyed Florida State's offensive line for a good portion of that game. And yes, here's another one. Hold on. Where's the rivalry? Here we go. Geo Shoebox. Florida State went on the road to face a rivalry team with a backup quarterback and won the ACC championship with the 3rd-string freshman quarterback. It says a lot about it does.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about most deserving or anything like that. Like if this was a 12-team format, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. If they already had their TV deal done, probably be a different outcome. But as it sits right now, they are still coordinating with networks and trying to get the most bang for the buck. And if you can put Michigan and Alabama in the Rose Bowl in a game that should be pretty tight, I mean, the spread again is 2 on this game, you're going to draw 30 some odd million people.
Oh yeah.
So when you had Alabama against Michigan State back years ago, the spread on that game was like 12. I think Alabama won 38-0. Nobody watched. I think there was like 17 million people that watched. It's about money. It's about television dollars. Like,
yeah, it's.
If they could have found a way to keep Washington out and put Georgia in this thing, they absolutely would have.
Oh yeah.
But Washington's got like 6 wins against ranked teams and whatnot. Like everybody saw it. With Florida State, they at least had an excuse, and they used the excuse. I mean, it's all it is. Hold Heartsick Disciple jumped in. He said, I hate these huge conferences where teams don't play each other for 5 to 6 years. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the SEC is going to be the worst one because they ain't moving off 8 games. They're going to stay on 8 games forever. And the reason behind that is ESPN's not going to pony up the money because Disney ain't got no money. So they're not going to give the SEC more money to play an extra conference game. So the SEC is going to continue with the SoCon Challenge in late November, and they're going to continue on with whatever. And I don't blame them. Alabama's scheduled next November. By the way, LSU, then they've got like a non-con game. They play at Oklahoma, and then they get Auburn at home. So LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn all in November next year. Oh, it's going to be brutal. But they only have to play 8 conference games. Because when you play LSU, Oklahoma, Auburn, Tennessee, Georgia, etc., all in the same season, it's a little different than playing Duke and Virginia and Boston College and whatever, right? So, but it won't matter because everybody's going to make the playoff now because there's 12 teams. Because it's all about being fair and who gets the whatever, right? Heartsick Disciple said 100% agree. They're tough and gritty. When he's talking to Geo Shoebox about how it says a lot about a team, and it does.
Yeah.
Like there is no disrespect to Florida State here. We ain't saying anything disrespectful about Florida State.
No.
The bottom line
they're
is
not a bad team. They're a very good team.
No, they are fantastic. And what they did last night was insanely commendable. But when it comes down to it, if you only got 4 spots and you got a chance to put in Texas and Alabama over Florida State, we know what the TV rating is going to look like. I mean, that's the way it goes. We've been going for 51 minutes.
Like how long? Like I will say this about Florida State: how often do you find Florida State fans really outside of Florida? Like
You
I don't
used to find them a lot more frequently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Back in the '90s with Bowden, when they were real. I mean, just like I don't see that.
I don't know. You're not because they haven't been good for a long time. This is their bounce back, right? And this is something that Mike Norvell can use to kind of rally the troops.
Yeah.
Right. This will be something he'll be able to use. And who was it that said in here about how do you sell? How do you sell yourself as an ACC team?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Miami's been doing it forever. Miami just stole a recruit from Ohio State. Like you go out and you pay more at this point. I mean, that's really what it's always been, if we're being completely honest. But it's I don't know how else to explain it, right? I think money, and more money. Oh, and TV eyeballs.
So,
that's what we're looking for.
So I got a question on this now. SEC.
Right.
Do you think Ole Miss would get a better shot at getting into the playoff because they travel so well?
100%.
Oh gosh.
I don't think it's a question. This year's Ole Miss team probably in. Like I don't think it's a question. Like they would be in. I think Missouri would be in this year.
Oh yeah, Missouri, yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Like when it comes down to rankings and whatnot, Ole Miss had 2 losses at Georgia and at Alabama. And that was it. They beat the same LSU team that went to Columbia and beat Missouri. Missouri's got like a 7-point win against Memphis and whatever, right? But Missouri's good.
Mm-hmm.
I just, when it comes down to, because there's ways that you can understand why Alabama would be ranked ahead of Florida State, right? You start looking at strength of schedule and everything else. You can talk yourself into it. Ole Miss being ranked lower than Missouri. I mean, are we just looking at the Georgia game because Missouri was within 9 at Georgia and Ole Miss got blasted? Like, are we not paying attention to injuries at all? Because when Ole Miss went to Athens, they lost like 3 of their offensive linemen. That's a pretty big deal with that offense. And the defense was never going to be able to slow down Georgia. Like, that was never a question. Missouri's defense is better. I mean, that's a big part of it. Heartsick Disciple said, that's all conjecture. Okay. Like he said, this is incomplete information. That's what college football is. everybody doesn't play everybody. So you're working with incomplete information anyway, right? So Huey, tell me, am I crazy? I don't feel like I'm crazy.
No, I'm really like that's what I'm seeing. Like really what it comes down to with college football now. It's when the whole like I remember the whole thing that came out about the bowl games and the amount of money that the whoever puts on the bowls make. And it's like, yes, we want to put whatever out there is going to make us the most money. And it does. I do agree. It degrades, the whole thing. The what I'm trying to think of
The integrity.
the integrity of the game. Saying no, you went undefeated. You won your conference. You earned this. You were ranked in the top 5 all year. You should get in, but letting other people in. I mean, there was that whole argument to keep the BCS system to rank everybody and then use the BCS with the combination of the playoff of the playoffs. Like
right.
I see that as being like, oh, okay.
But now at the same time, if you have a TV product that you were trying to make sure that you've got the best matchups and you've got a team that because what the BCS did was it put in teams like Nebraska that lost their conference championship game. Oklahoma got beat 35-7 in the Big 12 conference title game, but they had built up such a lead in the BCS computers that they had to do something because Oklahoma still got to play for the BCS national title against LSU back in 2003, even though they got blasted in their conference title game. So like computers are one thing, but that's why they went with a committee this time. So in this situation where Jordan Travis just went out 2 weeks ago, Florida State's going to have better computer numbers when you look at the totality of the season. But last 2 games, this offense wasn't all that appealing, and that's all that they really had to go on. So, right? I mean, there's not a great way to do it. Here we go. Pete Thamel. He reports Florida State coach Mike Norvell releases a statement saying he is disgusted and infuriated by the CFP decision. What is the point of playing games? Do you tell players it's okay to quit if someone goes down? Do you not play a senior on senior day for fear of injury? Where is the motivation to schedule challenging non-conference games? We are not only an undefeated P5 conference champion, but we also played 2 P5 non-conference games away from home and won both of them. Okay. Semantics, right? Because they played LSU in Orlando. It's away from home, but that crowd was like 90% Florida State fans. Like that was a lot of Florida State fans. And I see where he's coming from. But again, if Alabama schedules Texas and the committee is telling them, hey, if you lose this game, we're going to keep you out. It had nothing to do with the non-conference whatever, right? This had to do with whether or not Florida State's quarterback was available. That was it. So I understand why Mike Norvell is disgusted, quote, and infuriated. But like, sorry, bro. Like, that's how the apples fall sometimes. Like, it's just the way it's going to go. It just sucks. It just sucks. David jumped in on Twitter and told me Florida State LSU was rated higher than any Alabama game. If I remember correctly, it was the 6th or 7th highest viewed college game this year. Yeah. In a standalone spot on opening weekend.
Yeah, wasn't it Monday night?
It was Sunday night. So normal NFL viewing schedule.
Yeah.
And the only game on television at the time. So, yeah, it's going to have a huge rating. But it's not like Alabama-Auburn wasn't right there. Like Florida State LSU had over 9 million viewers. Alabama-Auburn had over 9 million viewers. Alabama hit 8 million 3 other times. Like in yesterday's game between Alabama and Georgia, like I guarantee that thing had almost 20. Probably 16 to 17. I bet.
But the Iron Bowl also was falling during
a bunch of other games.
Yeah. So So I can see it gets hard when you get these matchups, but rivalry but with I can't talk right now. And like it was like I was kind of torn between watching it because I was watching something else, so having to do the split screen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Let's see. Parker jumped in. The TV execs that own the college football postseason have a clear message, and it's this: screw you. You'll tune in anyway and help us make more advertising revenue. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But it's not you'll tune in anyway. It's we think there's more people that'll watch this team than that team. And it's true because we see it with the G5 teams all the time. Everybody likes the Cinderella story and everybody likes all this kind of stuff. But if a game is not competitive, people don't watch.
No.
So it is what it is.
Oh, gosh. Like when Hawaii played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl when they went undefeated, and it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Godfrey, kind of hard to make fun of fans who believe in an SEC conspiracy, isn't it? It is. It certainly is. Jordan Travis tweeted, devastated, heartbroken, in so much disbelief right now. I wish my leg broke earlier in the season so y'all could see this team is much more than the quarterback. I thought results matter. 13-0 in this roster matches up across any team in the top 4 rankings. I'm so sorry. Go Noles. See, that's the one that I really feel bad for. Like, I do feel bad for those Florida State kids.
Oh, yeah.
But it's rough.
I mean, it is all year. You've been put in the top, in the playoff talk all year. And then you come right at the end. Nope.
Like, yeah, we know that you've won every game, but also, y'all aren't as fun to watch as everybody else. And that sucks. I'll admit it. It sucks. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Okay. This was supposed to be a reaction show about the title game.
Yeah.
Let's very quickly hit on these. We talked about Bama, Georgia for a little bit. Washington 34, Oregon 31. Michael Penix, I feel like he's been playing possum for 6 weeks waiting on this game. He looked just completely outstanding, along with Dylan Johnson as well. They looked great in this game, and Oregon had no answers. But this is another situation where Oregon didn't really play anybody. They dominated all these weaker teams. And when they went up against tough competition, which they only really did it twice this year against Washington, and they lost both times. So what were your thoughts on the Pac-12 title game on Friday night?
Washington was, they were ready. It wasn't that back and forth. Like I thought it was Washington showed up and said, hey, we're going to put to bed every doubt that you got about. I was thinking Oregon's going to show up. I'm like, Oregon's going to get this, pull it out. That's going to be it. But
yeah, it was 20-3 before Oregon really got going.
So what about Bo Nix and the Heisman?
So I know I had a very small investment on Bo Nix at 30-1 for the Heisman Trophy, but 3 weeks ago, I don't know. At some point, just a few weeks ago, I got a Jaden Daniels plus 700 ticket to win the Heisman. So whoever it was going to be, I was going to profit. And yeah, I mean, those odds shifted quickly after that ball game. I mean, it was insane. Jaden Daniels right now, I think, is like minus 1,800 to win the Heisman. So you got to bet like $180 to win back like what, 100? I mean, it's insane. So yeah, so I feel good about my plus 700 position. But man, I would have been fine with Bo Nix at 30-1 from right after that Washington game. Like I saw that and was like, man, Oregon probably should have won this game. And then you get to the Pac-12 title game, it's like, nope. Kalen DeBoer is awesome. Like, he is an incredible coach. I think he's 103-11 now, all time as a head coach. That's nuts. Like, he was winning NAIA national championships when Dan Lanning was still playing college football. Like, and they're not that far apart. Like, he started his head coaching career young in NAIA. But he's been awesome everywhere he's been. Kalen DeBoer understands how to win ball games. Like, he was an OC at Eastern Michigan. He was the OC at Indiana. Like, he's just been fantastic everywhere. Like, he uplifts every single team that he's coached, whether it's as offensive coordinator or head coach. So, hey, right quick, Ross Dellinger tweeted out, CFP chair Boo Corrigan on the Bama FSU debate. The questions we do ask from a coaching standpoint is, who do you want to play and who do you not want to play? And Ross said, oh my. So last year, that was the selling point for Alabama, right? Because Alabama would have been favored over every team in the field other than Georgia, I think. But they put TCU in anyway. And then TCU went and beat Michigan. But it was easier to sell because Alabama had 2 losses, right? Now you've got an SEC champion, Alabama. And it's like, who do you want to play and who do you not want to play? Michigan probably don't want to play. It's what me and you just talked about. I don't know if the committee should be really talking about that. Oh, yeah. Just crazy. Oh, here we go. We got a statement from Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
It's unfathomable that Florida State, an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, was left out of the college football playoff. Their exclusion calls into question the selection process and whether the committee's own guidelines were followed, including the significant importance of being an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. My heart breaks for the talented FSU student athletes and coaches and their passionate and loyal fans. Florida State deserved better. College football deserved better. Jim Phillips is one of those that voted not to expand the playoff early. He says their exclusion calls into question the selection process and whether the committee's own guidelines were followed. The committee chairman is the North Carolina AD. He's an ACC AD. There, it says, including the significant importance of being an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. It doesn't say anything in there about being an undefeated Power 5 champion. It just says, did you win your conference? It also talks about whether or not you have certain like key players available or not for the playoff. They followed what they're supposed to do. Like, it doesn't call into question anything. Like, again, it's how about this? Let's see if the ACC decides to cash their CFP checks. Like, you want to boycott this thing? Go ahead, send your money back.
Yeah.
I guarantee y'all will all take your money and you'll like it. Because that's what all this whole thing's about. It's about money. All right. We got an hour and 10 minutes. We ain't worried about anything else. Is there anything else you want to bring up? I mean, we could talk about Florida State, Louisville, or Texas, Oklahoma State, but
no, it was pretty there. Just, you know,
at the end of the day, it's all about the playoff right now. It just the exact moment that we're doing this, that's what it's about.
Shine in on it. Get your Dr.
Exactly.
Pepper in with college football.
It's about that money.
I will say this about a very interesting thing. So I do involve myself with political stuff for physical therapy nationwide and statewide. If you ever visit your state representative in Washington, they will often have stuff that is made in that state in their office. I was like, give me some of them Dr. Pepper. I was taking so it's Starburst. I never knew Starburst are made here in Texas.
That's crazy.
And also Fritos. So like you go in their offices.
Fritos make sense.
And this stuff is this. You're just like, yeah, I'll vote for, I'll vote in this state. You just take whatever you want. So it's kind of awesome.
Which rep did you go see?
I went and saw Beth Van Dyne. I went by Ted Cruz's office. He wasn't there. John Corneth's office. He wasn't there.
Ted Cruz doing a bunch of. I think he's in a new movie. He's doing.
So my wife told me when I went. She goes, I said, you think if I get to meet him, because there's a bunch of us, and they said, typically your representative will come and meet a large group of people because it's a lot. And I said, should I ask him if he's a Zodiac killer? She goes, don't you dare. So, I was not allowed to do that. I met a handful. It's kind of cool to walk in there. I mean, I had appointments, so I was like walk in and they meet with you and all that. But I've gotten the opportunity to meet several of them outside of it, so it's kind of neat to talk to them. But yeah, they have stuff like this in their office. Dr.
Peppers and Starburst and Fritos.
Yeah, I am a little embarrassed that I have met Phil Bryant from Mississippi to we got a law pass there, and then the whole thing with Brett Favre. I was like, oh crap, let me get rid of those pictures.
Like, I don't want to be involved with this dude. Like, no sir.
Yeah. Now this is published on the web, so everyone knows that now. So
that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes. I don't think anybody that comes in and watches this is going to give a rip that that you were involved in anything with Phil Bryant.
Well, you just met him, and he's like, he signed the bill, and it was like, hey, you take pictures with him, and then you leave. It's like, anyway,
that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. All right, let's wind this thing down. You want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Strong and Healthy Rehab on TikTok, Instagram, and here on YouTube, talking about rehab stuff to keep you strong and healthy.
Most certainly. You can find me on the BetUS College Football Show every Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Along with right here, I'll be here all through bowl season doing this thing up. I don't know how we're going to do the reaction shows, Huey, but we'll be doing this again before the end of the whole thing. So,
all the bowl.
January 1st is the playoff games, but I mean bowls start in 2 weeks, so December 16th,
and then Heisman next week.
Heisman is next Saturday. Army Navy is next Saturday. So we might be talking next Saturday or Sunday. We'll see. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels and then Army Navy, depending on what that looks like. Who knows? But we'll probably do that. But yeah, we'll figure out to make sure that you don't miss any of those. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell and like this video. That would certainly help us out. Along with that, of course, you know where my socials are. They're going to be in the description. Don't worry about that. What else? I'm at Gary WCE everywhere except for Twitter, where I'm at Winning Cures. That's the easiest way to do it. What else? Oh, hey, Ticket Smarter. If you're still watching this, Ticket Smarter, they sponsored the show. WCE 10 going to get you $10 off an order of $100 or more. WCE 20 going to get you $20 off an order of $300 or more. So if you want to go to one of these playoff games, or if you want to go to just any regular bowl game, whatever, end of the day, it's probably going to cost you at least $100 for a couple of tickets, even for stuff like the Liberty Bowl, right? So save some money. Use the promo codes WCE10 for $10 off $100, WCE20 for $20 off $300 or more. And it's not a one-time thing. You can use that every single time you want to buy tickets. So make sure and do that over at Ticket Smarter. Think smarter, Ticket Smarter. I think that's going to do it. All right, buddy. This has been a pleasure. What a season.
Oh, yeah. Crazy. It's been fun.
Oh, a crazy freaking year. But let's end with this. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football. And we'll see you all again. We'll say next week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.